It's live streamed to my private YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So we are live, we're recording. I wanted to show you first what it is I actually do. So what I do is I break down your chart and I remove all of the gene keys and just keep the lines. Do you understand how the lines and the 64 I Ching come into being? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me. So I spent about an hour and went through and just, oops, did your whole
Okay.
chart here. And I am also a 5-1.
Oh.
So I'm quite familiar with 5-1s. Do you have any knowledge of human design as well as gene keys, or
Yeah.
are you just, okay. Well, in the gene keys, they talk about your life's work as being the voice of something. And you are the voice of virtue. On line 1, I call myself a solutionist. We have the answers to people's problems, and it's also called a fixer. In human design, it's called the heretic, being that the solution we have may not be what the rest of the world or people want. It is what it is. The 5-1s are natural leaders. They're here to inspire others. Those that are drawn to you are inspired by the 5th line. And it can also attract projections. I'm going to switch glasses. These are my driving bifocals. Okay. One of the positive attributes of the 5th line is the simplicity and practicality of it. The wound of the 5th line is the wound of guilt. And guilt is healed with forgiveness. Not necessarily forgiveness outside of yourself, but forgiveness within yourself as well as outside of yourself. And in your life work, the gift is guidance. You have that a couple of times in your chart. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 first lines in your chart. You have 2 second lines, 2 fifth lines, and 2 fourth lines. So the first line is going to be predominant throughout your whole life. And if you have any questions as I'm, spewing information, just pop right in. The second sphere in the path is the evolution. Evolution is generally going to be your biggest challenges throughout life. It's what you evolve through. And you have a 5th line there, which is about power and projection. Projection is going to constantly be something that comes up. Do you have some understanding of that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. Um, on the negative side, which would be projection, the fifth line has a tendency to be the victim and to have self-pity. It's like, oh, you did this to me, caused my life to be this, or make me feel this way, and not take self-responsibility for, okay, you did that, but this is how I chose to react. Those are choices that we make. Some of the negative sides can be control over other people. You have to believe what I believe. I am correct. Not necessarily the case. They also can have the downfall of being trapped in the mind, especially since I'll say we are a 5-1. The one is the investigator, so it's very intellectual. The fifth line can be trapped in that illusion that my way is right. I know this. And we can definitely be in the mind. I'm currently in the world's first men's delta, and my position this week is the mental plane and clarity of. So I'm really having to be very disciplined this week in paying attention to my thoughts and my mind. Once you sort of work through your evolution, a lot of times there's a breakthrough to the radiance. And the radiance, you have a first line. The first line is about solitude. And you have the gift of simplicity. I forgot, in your evolution, you have the gift of discernment. And if I recall, you have that, oh, not discernment, discrimination is your vocation. I thought you had that line twice. Simplicity.
But I have the 7 twice. Maybe that's what you were thinking about.
I saw you had the 7 twice. In your radiance, which also has to do with your physical health, you need time alone in silence, preferably if you can, to kind of shut off the mind and just be in your body. One of the positive attributes of that is that you need to be grounded as much as possible, however that works for you, whether that's putting your hands on the earth, going for a walk in the woods, sitting by a lake, meditating, whatever tool you need to find to use to ground is something that needs to be a continual practice throughout your whole life. The wound of the first line is insecurity. And insecurity is healed with honesty, mostly self-honesty. So are you familiar with the 55th gene key?
Yeah.
This 55th, although it's not, I don't think it's in your chart. I remove all of the gene keys so I don't cheat. I have some ideas of what some are. But
I have gate 55 defined in my solar plexus, but it's open. So yeah.
Well, it's something that 55 is a part of every single gene key. We can be a victim of the shadow, or we can experience the freedom of it. And it has to do with what we as humanity are going through in our evolution. Plus, 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 on the plus side, you deal best with all of the information and directness. Means, people who have hidden agendas, who lie, who are tricksters, best to keep them out of your sphere. Deal with people who will be completely honest, will be direct, those are the kind of connections that you need. The first line is also very smart people. And we can be very introspective. In Native American cultures, the direction of the West is the bear. And the bear is about introspection. It hibernates, it goes into the pineal gland, whatever, the central part of the brain. That's where the aloneness comes in, where you can go inward and be introspective. And then your purpose is also a line 1. If you think of how we are made, we are first made from the bones. They are the structure of us as a being. So the first line in purpose is also the first line of, or the beginning sphere of the Venus sequence. It's not only what your purpose in life, and by purpose, I don't mean what you do, I mean what you are.
Mm.
And your purpose in relationships is the same. This is going to teach you through relationships. The first line in the Venus sphere is you are either the anchor in the relationship, you hold it together, or you're the loner and you push them away. The downside of the loner is that you shut down and shut out as soon as there's conflict.
I avoid conflict actually, but my solar plexus is open, and this is a dynamic I'm still working on. I'm really
the other side of it is that you're the anchor, you're the rock, you're what keeps it together. So it can swing from the positive to the negative very quickly. So it's something to be aware of, that's your tendency. And you're rock solid, that you stand up for your boundaries and you do it in a kind way, not in a reactive way, not in a blaming way, not in a judging way. And from your self-confidence, you make other people feel safe and secure when you're in your gifts. And your gift there is insight. So you bring insight to the relationships. Does that make sense?
I'm still contemplating about how insight showed up in the different relationships I had, but not only in love relationships, but also with friends. And it makes sense, yeah, because I'm a very actually communicative person. So we have a lot of sharing going on with the people I have relationships with. And so, yeah.
Okay. Your attraction sphere is your second line. And it shows that resourcefulness is the gift. The negative and positive are either lust on one hand or the expression of passion on the other side. You make things look easy to be at peace. The negative side can be that you bury your head in the sand and don't want to deal with it.
I know.
You may have a tendency towards angry outbursts and can be unaware of how you affect others.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. The IQ, which develops from age 14 to 21-ish, is also in line 1. Again, back to the foundation of everything in the line 1s that I've explained, but it is the contemplative mind. You are a deep thinker.
Yeah, but honestly, I have to say that this part of my whole profile is the part I don't get. I don't get it. The hidden contemplative mind and how it relates to my 7. I haven't I couldn't grasp that yet.
That will come as you work through the Venus. Well, to be able to give guidance, you have to have thought about that.
Yeah, but how do I put where's the division, the shadow? Do I divide myself from something? How is it working?
Well, the shadow is hidden. You may think about that stuff, but don't necessarily voice it. And the voice goes back to virtue. See how they all interconnect? The heart, which develops the EQ, which is from age about 8 to 14 in your childhood development, is the gift of understanding. You have to understand in order to guide. So it comes from your emotions to your intellect. And the fourth line there can be kindness, or the shadow side is meanness. But the kindness has to be towards yourself as well as to others. But that meanness or comes from judgment, or it's like everything has a light and a dark, so they're both there. The SQ, which is your soul development, is from the time you were born to about age 7. And here another line 1. The line 1 is about certainty there. And it can go from rhythm and routine, like the habitualness of things will give you the ability, the gift of detachment. It can, an example, you can see all the horrible things going on in the world, not ignore them, but not be drawn into it. You can observe, but not be affected. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something I have to learn, because actually the whole condition of the world has made me so depressed for years, and I'm also really sensitive. Like when I watch the news and see what's going on, it's always crushing me. So I try to stay away from it. And
yeah, I would recommend not watching the news. I have not had a television in almost a decade now. It's like, yeah, I'll pay attention to what's going on, but I can't allow it to suck me in.
Yeah.
And that's leads to the core wound, what you brought into your DNA from your ancestors. And by the way, I'm German. My mom came here from Darmstadt, Germany.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Forgot to throw that piece in, but it is the wound of depression. And the depression is healed with honesty. But
Is it repression or depression? Repression, I think.
Depression, being
okay.
sad.
Yeah, okay.
But like the beginning of the Venus sequence, the end of the Venus sequence, that wounding that you come into this world with is also your gift and part of your prosperity. That sets you up to be what is in a line 1 is production, or the producer. This is going now into the I forgot what we called the last section. Anyways, the triangle, the piece at the
the pearl sequence, you mean?
Pearl, there we go. Thank you. If you think of like a movie set, the producer is the person who puts everything together. It's like, okay, the lighting needs to be here, the camera's here, the actor, you need to portray this. That's what the producer does. And discrimination is the gift. Discrimination and discernment are pretty close. The culture, and for a long time, I never understood what this culture was. My gift is an initiator. But culture
You
can
have
be
the
anything.
51 in your culture too?
Initiative. I do. Hold on. I do. I have a
This is
51
so
line
funny.
form.
This is my favorite thing today because actually I met another man from India a few years ago on Facebook in a group, and he also has the 51 in his culture. And since then we are just talking and contemplating gene keys together. And it's so funny how I find people on Facebook who have the culture 51. So yeah.
Well, I'm a projector, and it's like everything in me is told the opposite of what this key is. You know, I'm supposed to wait and be invited, but I'm also an initiator. So you have line 2 there, which is about partnerships. Just what you just described. And culture can be anything. It can be the gene keys culture. It could be your nationality. It could be the culture at work. It could be your family. All of those things are cultures. So that's where your gift shines. And the way the pearl works is when you work with your life work, the culture, and vocation, there is no direct path to the pearl. It just happens when you embrace the surrounding pieces. So you go back to guidance, initiation, and discrimination, and it brings you to innovation as your pearl, and it's the line 4 of charity. One thing that I got an intuitive, do you have the Rosie's cards?
No, I don't have them yet, but I've seen them.
Intuitively, something's telling me to read you the story of the 7.
Oh, please, yeah. Yeah.
That one seems to be virtue is the city, division is the shadow, and guidance is the gift. The story, and I'll show you it's a young woman, and she says, when I was little, I trusted and admired the peace-loving elders in my community. As I grew up, my people experienced more oppression from the outside world, and new leaders appeared who believed that it was time to fight fire with fire. At first, I hid. I handed my authority over to the elders who maintained the peaceful ways of our ancestors. But when our community was attacked again and again and again, I handed my authority over to the leaders who were fighting back. I watched them become more and more like the enemies as division grew in our village. I was tired of giving my power away to dictator types who never bothered to ask what I thought of or what I felt. I was tired of waiting for others to get it right. So I stepped forward as a leader, and I fought for the people and for justice everywhere. Over the years, I attracted many followers, always certain I was on the right side of justice. A deep ambition grew in me that was fueled by anger, and I hadn't owned it yet. One day I scolded a young woman for not listening to me and not following my advice. Her tears showed me that I had lost my way. From that day on, I stopped leading and I started to listen. I discovered that every community member was wise and capable of making an important contribution to the path of our people. Today I am no longer fueled by fear of oppression or by the desires for external recognition. I don't need everybody to understand the way I lead, or what I do, or why I do it. What drives me now is a deep love of service and the belief that there is no such thing as a healthy community without healthy, free, and autonomous individuals. When I guide a group, I interact as little as possible and always find that each person's wisdom and gifts just naturally rise to the surface. The less I push my agenda for the group, the deeper is the communion, the more transformative the action, and the smoother the implementation of the vision becomes. There will be more and more leaders like me as we move into the future. I know this to be true. Thus, I am able to trust in humanity even during these times of turbulent or horrific events. The gift in this story is I am here to share that true leadership is not forceful, imposing an agenda, or interfering in others' lives. It is about lovingly empowering from behind the scenes. As a producer, be not driven by fear of oppression or the love of power, but by the profound love of being of service to others. I am here to provide you with true guidance. I come to recognize the wise, free leader in you and to help you trust in your own direction. I am here listening.
That's really beautiful. Really such a good story. I totally have to get that book.
So if you can just contemplate this for a few days, and if you would on the I'll send you a link to a copy of this. If you would just write maybe 3 things that you really took from this experience with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is it, my love.
Okay. But can I still ask questions?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Because when I first read about the 7 in the gene keys, and then also about my line, I thought, oh my God, my life's work is so big. It's so big because it says I can really create a stir in humanity, like really, and go far out in the world. And I think in the line description, it also says, when you contemplate the gene key, then see how you can make a job out of it, or how you can do that professionally, something like that. And I was always wondering, how am I supposed to do that?
Well, I will explain that for me. With the gene keys, I've always been an entrepreneur. So when I saw that the initiation in culture, I have the ability to be a bridge. When I first did the gene keys, the first deep dive, I noticed that it was like 95% white women. Nothing against white women, but it's like, where are the people of color? Where are the black and brown and red people? No Native Americans, virtually no men. So that's what I have taken on as my bridge. I'm Native American. I'm in an intergenerational, interracial relationship. It's like I am the bridge to the other cultures. That's what I initiate. So I initiate doing these readings, or I initiated from the first Venus sequence a group of men, and we created a Facebook group that we meet on Zoom twice a month. And it's now gone on for almost 2 years. It's such a bond, and yes, so you need the balance between masculine and feminine, but the men also have to learn from other men things that they can't learn or express or be safe, to express in a group that's not. So how it works out, I can't explain to you, but that's just how I have taken it.
Yeah, it's interesting the 51 that you interpret it as being a bridge or being the initiator, because for me the 51 has always been kind of the most mysterious gene key. I didn't really see how it would play out in my life, but when I really resonate with the thing of being a bridge and being an initiator. So that's something I can hold on to. And I'm so very, I don't know a good word for this, but human design and gene keys, it's like the solution. It's like the explanation for everything. It's like people can learn so much about themselves and about life and about everything there is. Like, I mean, the gene keys is like the description of everything. So, yeah, and what I really love, and when you look at 2027, more people have to get to know themselves, and more people have to get to know human design and gene keys and see how they can benefit from contemplating all these teachings. And I think that's something maybe I'm here for, or something I need to be more equipped, of course, because my human design understanding is not really enough yet, I think. And for the gene keys, it's still, I have like the most or the hardest relationship in my life is the one I have with my mother. And I think this is something that will come up in the Venus sequence as well, that I have to process and go through in order to really find the peace in myself with everything.
Yeah, especially when we get to the later half of the developmental stages and you start to bring it up childhood memories of like, why is this way? Yeah, parents will definitely have a piece in that puzzle.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So basically your system is just based on, you look at the lines and you just you look at the chart and just focus on the lines, right? Or did you include anything else?
I just do that, especially it's trying to read the whole thing to someone is like trying to eat an elephant in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
This breaks it down into digestible bites where you can maybe get 4 or 5 pieces out of this that are good for you and of service.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And would you like to share your personal experience with your SQ?
My SQ, let's see. My SQ is the 30th, six. It's the only place I have a 6th line. Which has to do with philanthropy. And the gene key is the shadow is of desire. The gift within it is lightness. And the city is rapture. Rapture, I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around that word, but I think of rising up, of upliftment of sorts. And 6th line, I don't know what that is in the Venus sequence. Hold on. Or wound for the 6th line in the Venus. Oh, is guilt. And it's healed with forgiveness. Actually, I had forgotten about that piece. Because the vocation, it is management and the promoter. So I've always wanted a lot of stuff. Like I wanted to be famous. Well, not really famous, but successful, rich, material things. And throughout my life, I've crashed multiple times and have lost everything. I've been homeless a couple of times. And I was able to let go of the materialness. Stuff is just stuff. But I still struggle with, we all have desires. You know, we all want things. We want to be happy. We want to have a lover. We want to survive and to thrive. You know, I'm at a place in life where I've gotten survival down, where that's not a problem. You know, it's almost automatic. Now I'm trying to move to the next level of thriving, but not being too attached to the desires.
So and then what's your pearl? Because
my pearl and my EQ are the same. It's the 24th.
The addiction one.
Yeah. Addiction, invention, and silence. So I have stillness and silence in my EQ and my IQ. So it's like shutting up my brain, being still, not running away from the pain or discomfort or unease or conflicts, and just being. Are some of my big challenges.
And what's the line of your pearl?
A 2nd line, recognition.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I also was wondering about mine, the one with the charity, I think. But it always reminds me of when I play the lottery. I don't do that often, but only when they have like really big millions on there.
Well, like, right now ours is $1.9 billion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I always think about when I would win, I have such a long list of people who I would love to just give money to, just because then I can. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, yeah. I do have to go.
Okay.
I hope this has been of service and useful to you.
Yeah, I will totally write you after you've sent me the link. And okay. I thank you so much for being the reason that I can take the Venus retreat now. That's so great.
I'm thrilled. All right.
So